Suzanna. Welcome to the You Relationship Podcast.
Thank you. Hi. Good to be here.
I'm so excited to do this series with you.
I know, me too. It's going to be great. I'm really pumped to talk about everything we have planned.
Yeah, well, a lot of it we actually don't even know what we're going to be talking about yet, except for today.
That's true. I'm excited to talk about everything that will just come up as we go along.
But yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. So most of the listeners most likely know who I am, but you are a newbie on the show, but not a newbie in my life by any means. Do you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, with pleasure. So my name is Suzanna, and I am basically what I call a sensuality enthusiast. That's how I see myself. I'm very much into the practice of sensuality. But I also write. I write kind of like self-reflection and poetry, sort of a mix between the two. A lot of it is on my Instagram at SuzBub. And my background is also creative direction. I'm a creative director, and I have my own creative animation studio, and some kind of a Renaissance woman.
Self-proclaimed
Renaissance woman, if that doesn't sound high and mighty, but I wear a few hats. But sensuality and writing is, and like journeying into the self and self-exploration is a huge passion of mine that I've been doing for several years now, for most of my life. So, yeah.
Amazing. And I love the work that you do and the way that you show up in the world. And I've been so inspired by your sensuality work or whatever. Yeah, your sensuality work as well as your writing. So anybody listening, my pleasure. I definitely recommend checking out Sue's Bub or Bubs on Instagram.
I think it's Bubs, actually. I keep forgetting because I go by Sue's Bub, but my Instagram handle is Sue's Bubs.
Okay, perfect. So SUZBUBS, and I'll also put it in the show notes. And Suze and I actually go way back. Mm-hmm. We are what you would call childhood friends and also pen pals. We were pen pals for a while too.
Yeah, it's funny. Last time we chatted, I brought that up because I had forgotten that for a little bit, that we were legitimate pen pals. But I actually had a pen pal through like a girls magazine. Did you ever do that?
I did, actually. I did.
I had a pen pal through that too, but we were like friends / pen pals.
And yeah, we knew each other in real life. It wasn't just our letters that we sent to one another.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We had a long distance relationship.
We did. Between Ottawa and Toronto.
Yeah.
Ontario, Canada. Do you know what I just remembered? Mm-hmm. I remember you writing me a letter. Okay, so I had I think you know this, or maybe you don't know this, but I had like a bit of a crush on your brother.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. Because obviously your friend's older brother.
A few of my friends did, actually. He was a popular one in my family.
Was he?
Yeah.
So anyways, you wrote in one of your letters to me that you were listening to like all of these like rap albums through him, and one of them
still true today.
Still true, yeah. And one of them was Snoop Dogg.
Oh my god!
Was it called like? It wasn't called Who Let the Dogs Out, but it was like something with dogs. Obviously, Snoop.
It was probably his infamous, like his big album.
Yeah,
which I sadly don't remember the name of right now.
I don't remember the name of it either, but I remember you writing me and talking about like this music and how cool it was. And I went to my dad and I said,
so funny.
Dad, I really want the Snoop Dogg CD. I don't even know if I had listened to one Snoop Dogg song, because how would I have listened to it back then? Like, I'm pretty sure the radio stations I listened to did not play Snoop Dogg. Like,
yeah.
And my dad said, okay, I'll buy you the CD. Actually, sorry, it was a cassette. I'll buy you the cassette, But if there's one song, if there is one song that does not have swearing in it, you can have it. And I was like, okay.
Probably not a single song did not have swearing in
Not
it.
a single song. I'm pretty sure my dad did not listen to every single song. But
Yeah.
I got so excited, and like, so that tape existed in my life. I just couldn't listen to it. And it was all because of your letter to me.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I mean, my brother was probably my introduction to like rap, hip hop, and like R&B. Actually, my cousins listened to a lot of R&B, but
Yes, your cousins did. I remember
he
that.
helped me form my taste in music at an early age.
Well, so again, I'm pretty sure that piece of mail that letter came, it even sounds funny to say that out loud. That letter came around like we were probably 11, 10.
Wow.
Yeah, because
Can
I
you
hadn't.
I was listening to Snoop Dogg at 10, 11 years old.
Oh
Or
yeah,
we were.
yeah, you were. I wasn't allowed to.
That's amazing. I wonder if my
um,
mom even knew. I don't know. She definitely knew my brother was listening, but maybe not that I was.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
um,
so funny.
but we met, like, I don't know our exact age, but I'm gonna guess we're probably like 8, 9, 10, around there. And then I moved to your neighborhood in Toronto, where we continued our BFFness
Yeah.
and went to school together, and then had a little bit of drama, elementary school drama, and stopped being friends, and then rekindled our friendship like
Which is amazing.
20 years later.
Yeah.
Took us 20 years, but here we are.
That's actually that's a longer chunk of time than it felt like. But I guess there were things here and there, but like
Yeah.
we didn't talk more consistently until after that chunk of time.
Until our 30s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. I was going to say, we've had a long life. We're not that old.
We still have. Yeah. Maybe we're at like a
It's been
third
a
of the
long
way.
life.
It's been a long life.
Yeah.
Well, we've definitely gone through a lot into our 30s, and I'm sure a lot of those experiences will come up in the episode, or in the series that we're doing, this 10 episode series. Which, if you are, and if I haven't mentioned this in the introduction, you can also catch this either on YouTube or the You Relationship podcast. So depending on where you choose to watch. And today we are covering a very special topic that was voted on by you guys on our Instagram pages.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the vote. Go ahead. What were the two topics that we had them focusing on?
So the poll we had was between sensuality and solitude. So cultivating sensuality versus thriving in solitude. And it was very close. It was really close. Your audience broke the tie because my audience was tied.
Wow. Yeah. So, and the winner was thriving in solitude.
The drum roll would be amazing. Just throw in a sound effect.
So yeah, thriving in solitude. And this was one of the topics that we had chosen because, well, there is a lot of solitude that is happening right now because of, this global pandemic that everybody is very aware of, which is surreal just to say in itself. And also for the people out there who maybe are single or alone or whatever it might be, in helping kind of, explore that topic, but also hopefully providing some guidance as to how to feel great in your own solitude. And we are technically both solitude.
Solitude-y.
Single. Yes, but I don't want to say like solitude doesn't mean you're single, but yes, Suzanna and I are single, so we do spend a lot of time in solitude.
That's actually a very good point. Like, just as a kickoff, that solitude isn't necessarily, it doesn't equate to your relationship status, because it's easy to just lump it into that category and automatically be like, Okay, I'm single, so solitude is a thing now, but solitude is just as crucial to engage in when we're with partners or in a family.
Agreed.
So
So what do you think is the value or the importance of being in solitude or being alone at times?
it's funny, I have to say this because I can't get it out of my head right now, but when you were saying that, like, there's nobody who probably doesn't know about this global pandemic, I was thinking about how Jared Leto apparently came out of like a 10-day meditation or something, you know, like a silent meditation retreat
Yeah.
when the pandemic hit, and he didn't know that it was happening. He just like came out after 10 days to this like craziness.
Wow.
And this was
Vipassana it's
like,
called. Okay.
yeah, and this was a lot earlier on, but I just thought of it because you can literally like, you can cut out the world, you know, and live in your own bubble, which can be a good and bad thing. Like that can serve us in times where we need to disconnect and we need to, you know, tap into ourselves, but it can also, I find for me, make me feel at times too disconnected
Mm.
from the beat of the planet and what's happening and things that, you know, are going on around me. Um, but I think it's so important to recognize and identify what solitude is in like each of our unique lives and schedules, because it's so much deeper than just being alone, you know, and not having anyone present with you. It's about how you carve out that time and what you do with it and how consciously, I don't know, you create something out of it. Like to me, solitude is not just I'm having a night by myself, but it's like, what am I doing with myself, you know?
Mm.
Um, Sometimes I think of that as like I'm literally trying to like I'm hanging out with my best friend, aka me, like trying to cultivate a positive relationship. And what do we want to do? What would best, you know, serve us right now? Do we need to channel some emotions? Do we need to dance? Do we need to watch some movies? Do we need to write? Like, do we need to connect with nature? Um, you know, and yeah, it's like a practice. It's a very deep practice, I think, solitude.
Mm. Yeah, I like that you brought that up like right at the beginning about the importance of creating solitude and making space for it to just be with yourself, like whether it's voluntary or not. I think it's helpful to have that space to do that reflection, to just feel into like, okay, what's going on with me? How's my body feeling? How am I feeling? What do I need to process, like from my week, from my day, from my year?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think a lot of the time, especially if you're not single, or especially if you live with one or more people, you know, you can have a lot going on in your day and be very distracted and caught up and like trying to manage things and take care of things and then deal with dinner and whatever else. And then you finally settle down and then you turn the TV on and it's like there hasn't really been much processing. It's just kind of like,
Exactly.
okay, now I just need to numb out and chill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if that is something that you're regularly doing, then is there some space that you can make in your day or in your week where you allow yourself to process, right? Like, is it journaling 15 minutes before bed and not being on your phone and scrolling, you know, social media or YouTube or
Mm-hmm.
whatever? Or is it once a week you're like, okay, well, Saturday mornings I go for a 2-hour run and process or whatever it
Yeah.
might be. I think that's really, really valuable. And
Yeah.
it'll,
Giving, sorry, go on.
no, go ahead. I was just going to say, and it allows you to check in with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Like giving yourself that space to process things and reflect is so crucial because I don't know, a lot of people with busy, hectic schedules, you won't really process until you lay your head down at night and you're dreaming and processing, you know, through your brain, because that's the only time you're really getting to digest what's happened through the day. But it's so, so crucial. And something I've thought about a lot recently is how surface level and not like not helpful it is to be alone with my phone and devices and whatever I'm consuming through screens. Like if I carve out some time for a movie or a show or something like that, that's different. But if I'm just like aimlessly scrolling through whatever social media platform, and believe me, the temptation, especially during these times in isolation or with a lot more solitude than I'm used to, like the temptation is strong to have a few, without even realizing it, have a few hours pass by where I've been like scrolling through TikTok, you know? And it can give me the false impression that it's adding something to my life and my consciousness and psyche, like that 2 seconds of laughter or, oh my God, this is so great, I relate to this. But like the next day, nothing's really impacted me enough in that, let's say, 3-hour time span of scrolling. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you get hit with a little piece of candy, but there's nothing deep that comes out of it. So after, I mean, I guess you could call it sort of a binge scrolling session like that, it feels like you've just come out of a zombie state. You've been alone, but literally nothing positive or fulfilling came out of that. So I'm trying really hard to, you know, obviously we're going to like still succumb to our devices here and there, but to really try to craft that time alone in a special way. It just depends so much like what I choose to do. Like reading a book, so much more fulfilling than scrolling through some inspirational quotes on Instagram, you know, which I appreciate too, but it's just a different experience.
Totally. Actually, speaking of books, so I've recently just have it beside me and I'm obsessed with this book, and it's a trilogy. So even better. And I totally manifested this. So I'm in the midst of doing, well, I'm in the tail end of doing what I'm calling like a male cleanse. So dating myself, actually, and you're also dating yourself, but you're kind of in the earlier stages. So I'm doing a full 6 months, and I'm at about 5 months right now. And
Ooh,
yeah.
congrats. I
Thank
love that.
you. Thank you. It's been awesome for sure, and difficult as well. But I really wanted some kind of a like romance novel. And I was like just putting it out there, like romance novel, like find me, it'll find its way here. And what came was something even better. It's called The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty.
Oh my gosh. I was so excited for this reveal just now, like what book you were going to show. I was like, it's not 50 Shades of Grey. I know it's not 50 Shades.
It's not 50 Shades of Grey, but it's like very much that feel, but like even more intense. So it's written by Anne Rice, and it's an erotic novel of discipline, love, and surrender. So it's spicy. Like it's basically about another story of Sleeping Beauty and the prince who comes and saves her. And he basically like becomes her like commander, and she becomes his slave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's and it's like
a Dom.
Yeah, very much Dom vibes. It's a 3-book trilogy, and I'm honestly, I got it on Monday, and I'm halfway through, and today is Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah, like just
That's
the book,
so
not the
good.
trilogy. Yeah, it's so good. It's very conflicting. But anyways, we don't need to totally like dive into that topic, but it's been very rewarding to just make time to read. Not that this book is
Mm-hmm.
basically just making me horny, to be honest, and like also process like taboo and dark sexual energy.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like I'm processing and learning from that versus, you know, sitting and watching whatever crap I'd probably
Yeah.
be watching on television.
I
So
always think like how the writer feels writing erotic content like that. Like, do they need to take breaks and relieve themselves?
so I laugh into the mic.
You know?
So she does a forward, like a like a preface, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks a little bit about the experience, not of like the actual writing, but how it's been received and things like that. And yeah, I'm sure they're in a very interesting energy the whole time, right? Like
Yeah.
I need to take breaks too. Like I'm just like, oh my God. Like I think about picking it up in the middle of my day, like while I'm eating lunch or something like that. And like, is this a good idea, Maria? Do you want to bring in this energy right now? Will you be distracted? Will you be more focused? Will you be able to put the book
Yeah.
down?
It's cool. It's like very deep reading because there's more to it than just the story. Like the fact that you're using it to process some, you mentioned like sexual energy, and I
Totally.
really respect that.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
really curious about like dark sexual energy and how all that plays out.
yeah.
So
Oof, that could be another topic.
that could be another topic.
Yeah. Yeah, like I want to be able to do this every day, but I did it for about a week straight where I literally went to bed at 9, which I never do. I don't go to bed earlier than like 1 typically.
Oh God.
And I would get to bed around 9:30 and read, like put on like some kind of soundscape, like natural soundscape, and then read my book for like an hour. Because my motivation for that was to kind of like find a way to de-stress and relax at the end of the night and catch up on sleep, but also to carve out time to read because I found it so hard during the day. And it's just so nice to, I don't know, like not have screens before bed and connect with a different part of our brain, and just grow naturally tired because with a screen it interrupts that, you know, that cycle. We don't feel tired. There's a fly
I know, on your
right,
mic.
it's driving me crazy.
It's a part of the
um
show.
yeah. It's confirming what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been such an interesting journey through this pandemic too, because I spent a big chunk of it in relationship with someone in isolation, and then now alone in isolation. And being alone, having enough alone time is something I've always coveted, and it's grown in importance to me over the years. Um, I've always found that it's so important to set time aside for that while in a relationship and, you know, with family, because it's easy to kind of like miss the boat on that and just like, you know, give into the flow of the day to day and not get to carve that time out, either because we feel like we can't or our schedule doesn't seem to allow for it, or we just get used to having people around, you know.
Mm-hmm.
At times it would be hard for me to actually in advance be like, okay, I want to spend this day alone, or I'm going to go away for a day or two by myself. Like that's something I never did. And I wish I had, or I think I will in future relationships. But especially like feeling the contrast between looking for solitude when you're with people versus when you're alone, and there's so much of it. Like how have you found that experience in your life, you know?
Like shifting to just being on my own.
Yeah, like how you cultivated or connected to solitude when you were with somebody versus now when you're alone and there's like so much of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So in my like prior relationship, which was my marriage. It's been 2 years now, two and a bit, since it ended. Not since I've been married, just to confirm. There was a lot of like solitude that I didn't necessarily want. I really wanted us to have more time together and more connected time together, and that just wasn't happening. Wasn't happening because of work. It wasn't happening because I feel like he wasn't able to be present. And it probably wasn't happening because I wasn't requesting it wholeheartedly. But so there was a lot of like solitude that I didn't necessarily fully want. And then eventually it shifted to me just taking the solitude to escape and not wanting to deal with our relationship in some ways. So I can't say that I really enjoyed it when I was in relationship fully.
I can totally connect to that though, because like in my marriage, I remember using solitude as an escape towards the end as well. It was kind of like me pulling away more and more without realizing it. And then in my other relationship, I didn't feel comfortable in solitude because I didn't feel safe and trusting in that relationship. So solitude was a threat because it was like, what are they up to? And I can't relax and I have anxiety, which is, you know, like I want to be in a relationship where I feel totally safe, you know, carving out that time because like I said, it's so important to me. So if I don't feel safe or comfortable in a relationship having that, there's something wrong, you know?
100%. Yeah. And I feel like, yeah, I think there was a bit of that with me as well, like not feeling fully comfortable being alone and then doing it to escape. But for anybody who is in happy relationship or healthy relationship or whatever you want to call it, I think there are ways that you can make space for yourself to do what brings you joy, whether it's being in nature or reading a book or just painting or doing nothing, meditating, reading, just staring into thin air. And explaining
just some good old back to basics.
Yeah, exactly. And you can, if you feel the need to, you can explain to your partner what you're doing, asking them to honor that space, that is you time, you space, setting yourself up for success. So making sure, like, if you have kids, that your kids are taken care of and won't interrupt you at that time, that you're in a space where you're like fed and feel good and maybe in an environment that actually inspires you or you find comforting or whatever it is. Don't be like, my alone time is the bathroom, which I know, you know, if you're taking a bath, great. But I know some moms will just like hide out in the bathroom. Like that's probably not going to be as rejuvenating as really setting it up and scheduling it. And then of course, if your partner wants the same thing, then honoring that within them. Right.
Yeah.
And then being on my own, my gosh, like I'm always in solitude. I actually love solitude now, which is so interesting. I thrive in it. I love going out in nature. I have my dog with me all the time, so I'm not technically like the only being in the room, but you know, like
I find that comforts me too, having my cat around. Like it's just another presence, but I had a long period where I didn't have the cat and I was like alone. The difference with a cat anyway is mostly that I just take a lot of breaks to snuggle, but
there's a lot of snuggle breaks here too, for sure.
Yeah. I love how much you love solitude. And I mean, your hot date guide inspired me so much. And like dating myself or like taking myself on dates was something that I never really did like in a conscious, intentional way. Like I would plan evenings with myself, but not really like, you know, I just didn't tap into what I was actually doing. So when I did the date with myself, like it was such a fun, rewarding, rejuvenating experience to, I don't know, like it's almost hard to put words to it, but to actually put the time in like I would planning a date with somebody else and being like, what kind of flowers do I want? What kind of like vibe do I want to set up in my space? What kind of food do I want to eat? What activities do I want to do? Um, and it's such a beautiful process to really get to know ourselves. Like we're a never ending, unraveling mystery. And so much of our time is probably spent like dealing with emotions and things that happen that we're trying to sort through. But just like having that open downtime with ourselves to be like, you and I are just hanging out. This is what we're going to do. It's like you're kind of observing yourself in this body, experiencing this world in your own unique way. And it can be pretty profound, you know? Like you go on a lot of nature walks, which you have the most beautiful setting for right now. But like, I'm sure on your walks, you're kind of, yeah, like, what's that like, you know? Because when I'm out in nature, it's a really different experience as well than when I'm sitting at home, because it's like, you're kind of connecting with a presence that's around you. You're alone, but you're also not. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, no, it's true. And out here in British Columbia, like there might be a bear like not too far away that's watching you and you have no idea that it's there. There's all kinds of animals, and of course all of nature is alive. Yeah, like sometimes like I'm in nature all the time too, because I also have a dog. So like I also set up my life to be in nature as much as possible. But yeah, sometimes I'll go on nature walks and be like, okay, I should probably call my parents. Like I haven't talked to them in a while, or like, is there a friend I want to connect with? And then other times where it's just me and my dog. And I love those times because I feel like I'm that much more present in what I'm doing and so much more with the nature. When I'm on the phone, it's like I'm distracted. I'm not really as connected. Even when I go for like hikes and walks with friends, I kind of wish that there was more time for silence, because it's like we'll be walking and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like this place is so beautiful. It's blowing my mind. And then like, you know, my friend will be chatting. So it's not uncommon for me to be like, whoa, like stop. Like, can you like just look around right now? Like, doesn't this blow your freaking mind?
Yeah.
So when you're alone doing it, like no problem. You can stop as often as you want and just enjoy it. And I've had days where I'm feeling like shit and I'm either like feeling depressed or angry or frustrated or just stressed. And when I go out in nature, I come back feeling so much better. So
Yeah.
much better, especially when I'm connecting with nature too. And just like stopping and like listening to the sounds and feeling whatever elements are present at that time is such a special act and like so grounding as well. And it takes you out of your head, which many of us need breaks from, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so true. And there's just such a spiritual component to that, I think, because we're just energetically connecting to everything around us in a way that is harder to do when you're sitting at home, you know, unless you're meditating or tapping in some conscious way. But yeah, and that's so right about like the experience of walking in nature or doing anything really. Like cooking is something that, like preparing a meal for myself is something that I enjoy so much in solitude. And it's such a different experience if I'm doing it while talking on the phone or talking with somebody or watching or listening to something in the background. There's times where I just do it in total silence or with music playing, or I don't know, I'll even like narrate what I'm doing to myself.
I love
When
that.
things get really isolated, I start to do that and then freak out and make plans with people. But
What will you do? Will you like, what's an example of you like self-narrating?
I'll just feel it's just sounds insane, but well, I don't
No,
think it's
not at
insane, but
all.
it like I don't know, I'll just be like, okay, we're gonna grab these potatoes and chop, like as if I'm
Okay.
doing a show,
Okay.
which is hilarious. I used to do it as a kid too, so maybe I'm reverting to my childlike state.
Totally.
But um sometimes I actually just say my thoughts out loud as well. Like I'll talk to myself and be like, okay, Suze, like I know this is tugging at you right now, but like, let's just chill and whatever. And I have found that that actually helps me get out of my head. There's new coping strategies I'm finding in all this time to myself and isolation. And that's one of them because um, I struggle a lot with anxiety and like thoughts build up and, you know, circle and get crazy. So speaking it out loud, whether you're journaling or I think saying it, and you could be saying it to a friend, but saying it to yourself is a more intimate experience, like even more so. It just helps to formulate that like tornado of thoughts and clarify what's going on. So
I love
total
that.
tangent, but yeah.
No, I love that. I think that's amazing. Like there, I
Yeah,
don't, there's nothing weird about talking to yourself. Everybody does it in some
we
way.
do, right? I kind of just forgot about that. But yeah, cooking is such a enjoyable experience that rejuvenates me. And if I'm doing it with full presence and like smelling the food and
Mhm.
listening to the sounds and, you know, I end up with a much better meal and like pleasant eating experience, but B, I just tap into it in like a very present way. So I think similar to you on your nature walks, it's like the
Mhm.
solitude, the experience of the solitude can be heightened and so much more rewarding just by removing the barriers to our presence, being fully present, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I think about like something that's pretty common to see, especially in the city, is people like literally just like always having their headphones in their ears. You know what I mean? Like walking down
Mm,
the street in the grocery store, like always plugged into their phones and totally disconnected from what's going on around them. And I personally think it's a bit of like a coping mechanism. Like if you live in a busy city, sometimes it's overwhelming and you just want to kind of create a bubble around
totally.
yourself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but here, like, I can't even think of the last person I saw wearing headphones while in nature, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I
also,
mean, I'm downtown in my city, like, so I'm surrounded by it and I wear them a lot too. Um, like, even just today, I was grocery shopping with my earphones in.
oh my gosh, I've never done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel, yeah.
I was just listening to music, and sometimes it is like almost like you're building a shield around you, where if you don't really feel like socializing or being approached, not that it would happen necessarily, but it's like this protective layer. But at the same time, I've consciously chosen to, this fly is like in my face. Um, at times I've consciously chosen not to go out with my earphones and like just be in the world, and then a pleasant social experience will happen, or I'll just feel connected to the city and like the busyness around me and find a surprising pleasure in that too.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, I was gonna say, I was curious what the difference is like for you. I can't imagine going to the grocery store and having headphones on because, and even with walking in nature here, like I kind of want to know what's going on around me. So if like I'm at the grocery store, and especially now because everyone's like with COVID and like space, like if I don't realize that someone's beside me, like I'm probably going to walk
Mm,
into their personal space or like, I don't know, I just like knowing what's going on around me. But there is
yeah.
something cool also about not just being in your own world for a bit,
Yeah.
and just being like do like whatever your theme song is while you're in the grocery store, and that's kind of fun too. So
Yeah.
I get both of those.
Yeah, because the music can really motivate me. So if I'm walking somewhere or doing something in particular, it'll get me more in the mood to do it.
Yeah, maybe I'd enjoy grocery shopping more if I listened to music. I actually really don't like grocery shopping at all. Even cooking, I'm not a big fan of, but recently, and this is not a sponsored ad, I've been doing HelloFresh, which is like, it's like a food delivery. They deliver you all your ingredients and they give you your recipe. So basically like the onions already chopped, like the sweet potato won't be, but like the onion will be. They have like veggie versions. They don't have vegan, unfortunately. And it makes me enjoy cooking that much more because it takes away from like I don't have to go grocery shopping. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to make. And I get to try all these new recipes and things that I wouldn't normally make. Like last night I made a curry, which I thought, I don't like curry, but I actually really enjoyed it, so.
Ooh.
And I also, when I'm cooking, I don't have anything on the TV, because if I have something on the TV, then I'm probably not really knowing what's going on fully in the show. So I'm like missing out. So it's like, what do I kind of want to watch, but don't really care to watch?
Right.
And then with my cooking, like I'll probably mess something up or not enjoy it as much if I'm
Yeah.
not. So.
I have to be 100% attentive to a show. I need to see everything, every second, every visual. I need to hear it all. But you're right. Like if there's something I am not as, but it's hard. Like I have to watch because I'm such a visual person.
Yeah.
If I don't see a show fully, I'm like, what's the point of watching it? But I've tried to do that because sometimes when I cook, if I'm not as in the mood to cook, I'm like, I just need something to accompany this. And like, what show will I relegate to being my background for cooking?
And that's what it is. It's like, you can't like the show too much.
No.
It needs to be like, okay, like maybe like some of like the animal like documentaries in the background,
Yeah.
killer whales and da-da-da. But then
something soothing.
But then you'll probably also miss something really epic,
Well, I've had friends and people mention shows they watch like that are really like grabbing with cliffhangers and stuff. And I'm like, how do you watch that show in the background? Like I can't concentrate, but
yeah. I couldn't do that either.
I love that experience with the food bag though. And I think there are so many types out there, but it's really neat that it can give you the kind of experience you want with creating meals for yourself. And I mean, something I love so much about the dates with ourselves, like, is that I can order in, because like lately I don't order in a lot. Like I've really curbed down on that. I used to do it way too much. So now it's like a very special occasion for me to order in, and then I can actually get something that's more like luxurious or new that I haven't tried before and shell out a little more cash for it. And just like, it's so fun,
Yeah. And that was important to me, like when creating the guide, to just be like, and anytime I take myself on a date, it's like, how can you make this the best possible experience for yourself? Like, not just like another night in, like, ordering Uber Eats, like, what am I gonna get this time?
Yeah.
Like looking at your favorites list or whatever. But like actually thinking about like, okay, what's a place that I'm like, I've really wanted to try, or I was saving for a special occasion and I haven't, and like bring that in. And when you can make your time in solitude like special in some way, then it totally changes the energy of it, right? And it can be really exciting, and it can be fun, and it can be sensual, and it can be loving. And like I don't know with your experience, but like with me, whenever I take myself on these dates, like I come out of them feeling so much more in love and connected with myself and like happy,
Yeah. I felt that for sure. Like I had a happy hangover for a couple of days,
Oh, I
which
love
is so nice compared to a standard hangover. But
that.
yeah, I think crafting our solitude like an experience, no matter how long or short it is, makes it that much more special for sure. Because it's like, do I want to be checking, like giving yourself that moment to check in first and be like, what kind of solitude do I need right now? Like, do I need something that's grounding in nature, with nobody around? Well, with nobody around anyway, but grounding in nature with no interruptions or distractions, and like meditate and maybe swim. Like, is it like that? Or do I need something that's like, sometimes we need those nights where you're in PJs or comfy clothes and like you order in fast food and you're watching your kind of like, I hate saying chick flick, but like your standard rom-com movies or whatever. And then there's nights where maybe you want to like dress in your favorite lingerie or sexy outfit and light candles and have music and dance and then pleasure yourself. Like,
Yes.
it's like you can craft an experience to suit what it is that you need. And that's what's so beautiful about it. Cause like you just need to tap in for that moment first to feel into what you need. And then we have that ability and freedom to create that, which is so amazing, you know?
Yeah, we're so lucky here in the Western world to be able to like, offer ourselves all of this in so many different ways, or privileged, I should say. And I love that you offered up the different ways that you can create solitude for yourself, right? Like, and I kept thinking, I'm like, or you can seduce yourself, or you can seduce yourself, probably just because I've been reading this book. So
Yeah, you're like...
that's my jam right now. But totally, solitude is like, there's this like perception, like societal perception. And I always talk about societal perceptions because they have such a big influence on us, that it's like shitty to be alone, you know? And that there's something wrong if you are alone. Like, oh, does nobody like you? Or like, does nobody want to date you? Or, you know?
Yeah, that's such a thing. And I still have it in the deep recesses of my brain. It pops up sometimes. Like, I think I mentioned like in a recent chat we had that, especially towards the weekend, if I don't have a lot of plans and I'm like going to be alone, I come up against this thing of like, you know, like you don't have a date, you don't have plans, like you don't have friends like, even if I do have friends who've offered up ideas or I've literally chosen not to date, the thought will still be like, well, you don't have a date. And it's like, I didn't plan a date. I didn't want to date anybody. And yeah, and like, it's easy to have moments where you kind of compare and contrast to people in different situations than you're in, right? Like, and that's something I struggled with a lot is when I was in a relationship or had a lot of people around me, I would envy and admire people who were alone. And when I'm alone, I love it, but I also envy people who are in relationships and in families. So I guess it's like in both worlds, we just need balance. Like maybe those times when I'm craving that, I just need community and I just need to see or talk to somebody. But yeah, it's like being in two different worlds, you know, but maybe not. Like we put them in opposition with each other, but why? Like one is not better than the other. It's just where you're at. We're born, I was thinking about this earlier today, and like how we're born into this one body. I know that we're kind of like built to find people and form relationships and community, but if being alone was a bad thing, we would be born into like, I don't know, like we would be attached to somebody all the time physically, but we're not. We're born into our own singular being and body. Why? You know, obviously we're supposed to experience this alone with company at times.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you like intentionally bring this up so that I could talk about our Halloween costume from when we were
I don't know if like the Halloween costume made me think of it, or if like which came first. But
Oh my God, I wish I had it. I kind of want to do like a share screen of this picture.
I
Maybe
think you can pull it up on the phone to the screen, and then people watching the video can see it.
yeah, can you like send it to yourself even on iMessage and then share your screen? That was another thing I was thinking
Oh,
about.
share. Ooh,
Yeah.
I could do that.
Maybe
Or I
I'll
could also, I think I have it from, yeah, you just sent it
okay.
to me. So
I'll tell
basically,
the
you want to
yeah,
explain it?
I'll tell the story while you're looking for it.
Okay.
And okay, so basically
Here.
yeah, so Suzanne and I went trick-or-treating one year and we decided that we would be Siamese twins. And
So I know you said that we were, but I still think we were just a two-headed zombie. That's what I think we were.
this is what I think actually happened. Now that you bring it up, I feel like I probably said we should go as Siamese twins. And you said, well, why don't we be a two-headed zombie? And then it was like, fine, let's compromise. Because I'm so sure, even when we went up to doors, we would say we were Siamese twins.
I don't
But we
know.
look like a two-headed zombie. So in the picture,
Yeah.
our faces are painted like white with like red circles around our eyes, and we have lightning bolts on our cheeks because apparently that's how
Maybe that's how we draw our power, is
that
from lightning.
our zombie power, our zombie Siamese twin power. Anyways, and it's a really funny photo because Suzanne and I have always have different heights. Like I'm probably like a head and a half tall. How tall are you?
I think I'm like 5'6". Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm 5'7". I
Oh,
don't
that
know.
does,
I don't
maybe?
think you're 5'6". Or
No,
maybe.
I am.
Okay, so at that point in our lives, we were different heights.
I was probably shorter. Like I probably hit my growth spurt after. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, the height difference is ridiculous. We're just wearing an oversized t-shirt and like two pant
Like we're
legs.
each in one pant leg.
We're
So
each in one
it's
pant
like,
leg.
yeah.
And then we almost got mugged in this Halloween costume. And Suze doesn't remember this, but like I
Not
like
at all.
literally was like almost like dragging us, like trying to hobble because you couldn't even take full steps in these pants across the street away from the kids who looked like they were going to steal our candy.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, so that happened. But yeah, connected back to what you were saying is, yeah, we do come in as one body, and but we are all connected energetically.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know I've said this to you, like alone is like all one, right? Like
Right.
we are all energetically one, and I truly believe that. So we are never actually fully alone.
It's so like I've read kind of like I've read into like spiritual metaphysical interpretations of this stuff, but like the fact that we are one energy that broke into these like fractals, and then we each became more and more individualized from that. And I don't know if the theory is that we then return to that oneness. And the thing that used to give me a lot of existential anxiety growing up was the thought that like your self identity would dissolve in that you would just become
Mm,
one and lose yourself. But then it used to comfort me because I would read these like near death experiences, you know, people who said that they've like had experienced the afterlife and come back. Um, a lot of them explained that concept as being like, you are one, but you're still you at the same time. So then I'm like, okay, sweet. Like we retain ourselves. That's important.
well,
But I've
yeah.
thought about it a lot because it's also like, why do we divide into these separate little energies that are all unique, you know?
Well, that's
It's
a big fucking question.
like that's way beyond solitude.
I feel like that could be its own like ongoing live show where we just talk about
Yeah.
philosophize and
Well,
like
because I'll just say quickly, like what something I read in relation to it is that the energy, the source energy wanted to know itself. So the moment it had a differentiating thought, it split, and then it kept splitting and splitting and splitting. So what brings me comfort in that is solitude is almost like a practice of getting to know yourself. And the more you get to know yourself, the deeper down that path of growth and expansion you go. And it just keeps unraveling, right? Like we know who we are, but we kind of don't. Like we're a we're a presence that's acting through this body, and there's countless experiences we can have to define what it is, what we like, what we're good at, you know?
well, yeah, and our attachment to what makes us different and special is actually what also separates us in some ways, and it's not actually even who we are at our core, which is like just like love energy. So like I feel like the more you the more work you do to like understand who you truly are, the more you see that you are less an individual and more of a collective. That's my take
Right.
on it.
I like that too, because we have all these shared experiences.
Yeah.
So,
And we pick up on each other's energy all the time. Like there's so much there. But before we go down like a complete rabbit hole with this, because it's definitely possible, we always, or something that we're going to be doing on these episodes is sharing something that you can explore in your own personal life as a listener or as a viewer in the topic that we're covering for the week. So in this week's topic of thriving in solitude, if there was one thing that you could offer up to the listeners slash viewers on thriving in solitude, what would that be?
I think it would just kind of jump back to what I was saying before, like to craft your experience of solitude in whatever way you need in that hour or night or day or days, whatever time you're able to carve out, like plan it and think of it in terms of, I mean, because I like sensuality is such a, you know, stream of thought for me. You can craft it by the senses. Like, what kind of visuals do you want? What kind of things do you want to hear? And visuals can be like your surroundings, what you're going to watch, what you're going to wear. Sounds can be like, do you want to be in the hustle and bustle of a city? Do you want to be in nature? Do you want to be in silence? You know, and then taste, obviously, that's the fun one with like figuring out food or what our food experience will be. I can't even remember our senses. Touch, you know, what do you want to feel? Think about like the textures of your clothing or a blanket, or maybe you want to like in nature touch trees and leaves and water. Like, you know, you can kind of break it apart into all those things. And then smell, lastly, you know, what kind of scents do you want to smell? Food, maybe you want to bake something or cook something, or maybe you want to smell the freshness of like a forest or the stink of a city.
Or you can, yeah, essential oils, or what scent do you want to wear while you're in the city? Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, that's really, really powerful. Do I have anything to add to that? It's just, and giving yourself the space to actually like reflect on it and not write anything off as being silly or not making sense or being too difficult to achieve. It's really honoring whatever you want, so that solitude that you have is really special and nourishing, which is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that. I love that. Such a great conversation. I know we could talk for hours, which is why this is a 10 episode series. um, um, yeah, we already have our topic decided for next week, right? Or are we going to do a
Yes.
poll?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I
So
think we're either gonna carry over sensuality or do a poll again.
yeah. Yeah. So TBD, if you're watching this YouTube video and you want to comment below and you have some feedback or comments, please do share. If you are listening on the podcast, you can always message us on Instagram, is probably the easiest way, at Sue's Bubs and
Yeah.
at Maria Juzwin.
And I would love to hear listeners' thoughts and audience's thoughts on like how they see solitude and cultivate it, because
Yes.
it's so interesting to me how different people approach it. So
yeah. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Suze.
thanks for having me.
Talk soon.
Bye.